Hey, what's up real quick, everybody? This is STS. This is a show where the two of us who have been practicing parkour for a long time like to talk about current events going on in the parkour world and reflect on past experiences and hopefully bring you conversations that you wouldn't get anywhere else.
In today's episode, we talk all about the Storror Awards for 2022, what we agreed with, what we disagreed with, and maybe some potential improvements for the future.
Make sure you drop us a comment and subscribe to the channel. Those things help a lot. And without further ado, let's get into today's episode.
It's the end
Of the year.
of the year.
Woo!
It's the end of the year. Should clarify a year here.
2022.
2022 comes to a close. This is going to be our last STS episode of the year.
Yeah, but we'll still see you next week.
That's right. Reflecting on the year, how do you think it went for us?
I had a pretty good year. I got back to doing parkour, so that's always nice.
Yeah.
got over the well, not fully over the injury, but back to myself. Business this year was very good. Do you remember your resolutions or goals at the start of the year? Because we did that. We did an episode where we had that in. And I said, well, okay.
I think I wanted to get my dive holes video out.
Yeah, which
and
you
I
did.
successfully did that, so that was a big one.
I got 2 out of 3.
Okay.
Because my one was like, get back to, fully being able to do parkour again. Okay, check. Break Origin sales record.
That was successful.
Check.
Yeah.
And the third one, which I didn't do, was finish my video.
Okay. Didn't we talked about like being consistent with like uploading content? I thought that was another one.
Yeah.
Which I think
we had a little break.
We had a break.
A little summer break.
Summertime break, but we finished the year strong. We've been we've been putting out an STS every week and an additional video every week as well.
Yes, sir.
Whether that's coaching or action or vlog or whatever, right? So that's been cool. The algorithm hasn't been super nice to us yet, but that's okay.
Yeah, sorry.
So this is the time where I'm going to tell you to like the video, subscribe, comment,
For the algo.
and share with somebody because this is going to be a great episode. Do you know why?
Because of the topic we're covering?
No, because it's always a great episode. Come on.
Hey.
All right. So, no, this one's going to be particularly good because we're going to go through every single winner of the Storror Awards and talk about why we disagreed. We're not going to do it.
Actually, I'm actually quite in agreement with a number of them.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so am I. I was just, trying to set the scene here for what we're going to be talking about. Storror Awards.
Before we jump into the details, overall thoughts on the Storror Awards, on this year's Storror Awards. Overall thoughts.
I wish they had broken it up with timestamps. That would have been nice. But no, overall, I actually mostly agree with a lot of it. But there is a looming discussion here that we need to get into, and it doesn't have to happen now, but it needs to happen. Is the Storror Awards a bias towards the UK? Or actually, more specifically, a bias towards, or less specifically, a bias towards Europe in general.
We will get into there. I think there's going to be definitely some reoccurring themes. What did I write down here? Yes. In general, I'm super happy that they're continuing to do it. I was a little... I'm not going to say disappointed, but I did notice they cut their prize money in half.
That's pretty substantial. So last year it was £20,000, and this year it was £10,000. Yeah. And then they were also asking for people to send super chats to help kind of
fill that void,
fatten up the prize pool.
Yeah. And the thing about that is prize money in parkour, particularly when the event organizer or the people putting on the thing are without sponsors, and maybe they had a sponsor in previous years. I thought there was a GoPro thing. Neither here nor there. If without that, it's very hard. Like, we know this from SPL. We had this almost arms race at one time, it felt like, where every event coming out had more prize money and more prize money and more prize money. And we tried to, keep up with that. And it is a losing game, because eventually what happens is the event stops happening, which we've seen happen with competitions. They get to a certain level and then the event stops happening. So if you are someone attending events, or if you're watching the Storror Awards and things like that, and if that matters to you a lot, the amount of prize money, you need to kind of temper those expectations, because it's very likely that they could not sustain that amount, and that's why they dropped it down. It sucks to have to make that move. It does.
The big thing this year, though, was they actually included a lot of women's divisions, or women's categories, right? So last year, the only women's category really was best female.
Yeah.
But this year they included a dinger, a banger, best female, best or one woman army. I think that's all the ones that I can think of off the top of my head.
We'll be getting through it.
We got the
notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention too is I just think it's great that the biggest platform, the most influential platform in parkour, is doing this. Is having a year-ender where it's not a parkour competition. And we're going to get into that with some. We're going to get into that in a bit with some of the selections, because they talk about, for example, they bring up Ed Scott, and that he's been coming out and like winning competitions, and that's part of why he's up for best male of the year. But what this does is it gives a nod to artists, we'll say, instead of athletes.
Yeah. People putting out video parts, people putting out content as their competition.
Yeah, who don't get, maybe just don't fit into the competitions. And so we talk about this even as competition organizers, that parkour is not about competitions for everybody, and that there are other ways you can be successful. And in fact, one could argue that you can be more successful not doing competitions. And this is just something that gives those folks a nod, where, if they're not going to be competing in Red Bull or SPL or something like that, they can get a nod through this sort of event, if we can call it an event. Yeah. It would actually be cool if they eventually made it an event.
Yeah, I've always thought this would be really cool, is if it was like the Oscars, where it was a big jam put together, but as a part of like one of the days is like it's like a whole show. Like they show like some of the videos or like excerpts of the videos, and they kind of they have the card and they announce the winner is whoever. And that would be really cool. Like then you can go and attend, like you find out ahead of time that you're a nominated athlete or team or whatever, and then you can then book your travel, go to the event, and then have this whole thing. I've always thought that would be really cool. But maybe next year's Storror, boys.
In the future. And timestamps, please. Just, you can add just so much more value to that video piece if there's just timestamps, so we can go through and see who won what. But that's what we're going to get into right now.
Let's do it.
So first award was Feel Good Man.
Feels good, man.
Feels good, man.
Feels good, man.
I actually want to say the first two awards here are ones that I think need more explanation. And it's not that Storror owes anyone more explanation. I just think if we're trying to be critical for them to improve on this event, a little bit more explanation would be cool for Feels Good Man and Favorite Flavor.
Yeah.
Because I can't really comment on them. Can't really comment on.
I have comments.
All right, let's start with Feels Good Man.
Feels Good Man. So this is the first instance of the European bias that I'm seeing. Right? So Storror attended 2 jams So Kippa Jam and Own the Spot, and then they also included Queen City, the film, which is like, okay, so it's a film.
Did they assist in the edit of that, or am I?
Maybe Toby helped with like the trailer, I think, but neither here nor there. Doesn't matter. Right. So you got Queen City, which is a film, and then you have 2 jams, and those are the 3 contestants or the nominees in the category. And both of the jams were European. There's a notable feels good jam that happened in the US that wasn't included on this list, and I think largely because Storror didn't attend it, and that's Join or Die. So I feel like Join or Die as a jam should have at least gotten a nomination.
I think SPL1 felt really good too.
It felt really good. You know what? I'm just trying not to be biased here, but yeah, you're right. So, but okay, neither here nor there. Would be cool to. I mean, like they gave the award to Kippa Jam, which was their first year running it, and kind of one of the things was like, well, clearly they don't have a lot of money, and they're just like kind of a team that's just putting together something, and they can still put together something cool. So they included some. They gave them some prize money to, maybe next year they could make it even better. Be cool if SPL was recognized and given some cash to make it better. Wink, wink. But no, Join or Die, I think is a feel-good jam that happened in the U.S. and I've heard nothing but good things from the attendees of that event. I feel like it should have been included in the list of nominees. But instead, they have this European focus of these 2 other jams that they went to.
Yeah, I think they just shoot themselves in the foot a little bit with this category because it can be a jam or it can be a video, and it's like, well, how do you know a jam's good if you didn't go? Yeah. How are you going to base it? And
testimonials.
So yeah, that's I think that's what I'm saying with these like first 2 categories, like Feels Good Man. I almost have trouble commenting on it because it just seems like a flawed category to begin with because they're including it's just whatever feels good, and it's like, okay, but feels good to what they have knowledge about. And I mean, that's every category is whatever their knowledge about. It also depends on nominees. I don't know if I feel like I remember seeing last year or the year before where they showed all their categories. So they did some Instagram posts where like all the categories were up, and there was a lot more chatter about it. And this year I didn't see any of that. Maybe I just didn't see it. I don't know if it wasn't that means it didn't exist.
No, so last year they made a guide post on Instagram, which kind of included all the winners and little like blurb about who won and what category it was, and that was really cool. I hope they do that for this year as well. I almost feel like this should have been just like best jam.
Yeah, it would make sense because
and it's obviously they're still going to be biased because like if they attended some jams and didn't attend others, then they're not going to be able to like accurately comment on it. Yeah. But
I think that's fair. I think criticism number 1 or suggestion number 1 is change Feels Good Man to best jam.
There we go. Let's move on. I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Favorite flavor, another one I don't get.
Yeah,
I mean I get it. So I get it. But I don't think there's enough explanation as to why they're going one way or another.
Here's the question, right? So there's one man army and one woman army kind of became best video part or video like individual video, right? So best solo video. But favorite flavor is actually like best video.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's no best video category.
Are you saying that it becomes best video?
Well,
as
all
right.
Default? Well, what I'm saying is that there's no best video category. There's just best solo video categories.
Right.
So favorite flavor should be best video. And you gave basically the title to like, in my opinion, okay, I'm not going to say the worst video, but it was Flinging Muck, which is guys throwing their bodies.
So much flavor, though. So much flavor, Tom.
No comment. Okay, so we're...
All right, why did it not have so much flavor?
Storror told us to come at them with what and tell them why they're wrong. And
Okay.
And I'm telling you, you're wrong because this category should be essentially best video. So not best solo video, but best like video, right? Like Capstone could have been in it. I know there was a heavy bias because there's lots of Storror athletes involved in Capstone, so I understand why it wasn't included, but that's probably like that should be the type of video that's included in this, right? And we got Flinging Muck, we got Gravel Pit, which was from the 69ers. That was a cool concept video. You had Team Farang or Farang Zero was included in that category. I think the Big Pasta, which was like the playlist of videos from Pasta Moose, and in my opinion, any of the other videos that were in that category that Storror chose as other nominees could have beaten out Flinging Muck.
Hazel was in there as well.
No, Hazel was in one.
Well, it could have been.
Oh, it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it makes it a little murky, a little muddy, if I could say. But I think, like I said, to start it off here, I think the Feels Good Man and Favorite Flavor.
It's not clear what the criteria is for favorite flavor.
And so
it's
we're
just
left,
like what kind of vibe did you like? You know?
And we're left making suggestions of like, all right, it sounds like you guys were leaning towards best jam, so just make it best jam. And it also sounds like you were leaning towards best video, although not really, because it's favorite flavor is like a style award, which. So I'll play devil's advocate here to defend Flinging Muck.
Okay, please do, because I'm having a lot of trouble defending it in my own head.
So we have a video and we talked about this last week too, where it's filmed in late year. So we get this sort of grim feeling. We have nighttime parts in it. We have the Sendy style, take it or leave it, you like it or not, Sendy style, grim, and it's appropriately titled as Flinging Muck is this sort of feeling, and it's unique in that aspect too, and it is you can't say it's not high level. It's definitely a high level video as well, particularly when you put it up against, like, I would say the 69ers, not against Pasta Moose. But that was like a playlist, so it's a bit weird. So we're left with this sort of thing where, and it also, I think it has bias because it came out at the end of the year, and so you tend to lean towards. But one other thing,
better.
I think if you're going with that sort of, I think you could easily make the argument for Farang Zero. Absolutely. I think actually what stood out to me too, and since we're on the topic of we're saying if we're trying to change it to best video, is last week we were talking about how so many videos were coming out, but as I watched the Storror Awards, I just thought to myself, not a lot of videos this year. was my reaction.
So I think all of the videos that did come out pretty much came out in the same time period, which felt overwhelming. But like over the course of the whole year, not a lot of videos did.
Especially because some of them are like 2022 compilations.
Yes.
And there's some videos that I haven't watched. I don't know if it's his exclusively, but Denali Sereno's video, I haven't taken a gander at yet. Some of the ones that we'll get into on the list here, I still haven't. We just watched Gravel Pit because I was interested in seeing it because I had not seen that one yet. But it actually felt like, there's actually, if you put out a video, chances are, and you put some effort into it, and if there's something unique, whether it's in the edit or in what you can do, chances are you actually might get mentioned in Storror Awards, because there's people are still, we talked last week, it's almost like just changing my tune after, reflecting on it now, whereas last week we were talking about, all these people are putting out their videos for the Storror Awards. Actually, no, I was wrong. They're not putting out videos for Storror Awards. They are just coming out at the end of the year as compilations. And then on top of that, when you just look back throughout the year, these compilations are all Instagram compilations for the most part, so stuff we've already seen. There's actually not as much clip saving as I think we were discussing last week. I think it's still actually quite rare to have that, because also when you look at the people that are winning the Athlete of the Year, whether it's male or female, they're not people that are putting out video parts. They're people that are posting on Instagram and showing up to events and just putting out a lot of content,
yeah.
but not like singular pieces.
So that's not exactly true this year. So
For
we'll get there. Okay, so
what part of what it says is not exactly true?
Lisa Schneider won Best Female, and she released a video that was.
I mean, it was kind of a compilate. Like a lot of it was pre-release clips, though. No, it was all like unreleased.
I'm pretty sure most of it was unreleased. I could be wrong here. Somebody correct us in the comments.
But if you look at the whole male, look at the whole male side of that.
Yeah, you have
who was
the top two in the
best
running.
male? Who was best male that put out a video part?
So yeah, you're right. So there's not Ed and the two top two male athletes were Ed and Verky, and Ed and Verky, neither of them put out like a video part, but they both are posting on YouTube regularly as well. So it's like their content isn't exclusively on Instagram. So
yeah,
but it is heavily on Instagram. I'm not disagreeing there, but what you said wasn't entirely true.
Instagram and YouTube, but not
a video part, not
a project.
Not a project.
No projects.
Fair. Here's the thing, though. I do think this year was unique in that a lot of projects came out seemingly more so than previous years. I don't know if that's actually true, but it feels like people actually did save up.
I guess what's standing out to me is
there was less of the 2022 compilation videos coming out. And I mean, that's still heavily happening, but it feels like there's more like, all right, I'm going to make a concept like Squiggles and Forever Incomplete and Continuing Progress and all these other videos. Anyway. And
I guess what I'm leading to as well is with the not many, because I still think you could count them. You count them on, you need one or two hands to count out the amount of videos that came out this year. Like we already mentioned them, we said we have Mind the Gap. And Mind the Gap, I think, is an example of some guys who are not world class. They're not. It was a really great video, some really some high level stuff in there, but a lot of it was also not high level stuff. And they're being nominated here for favorite flavor. And were there another one, or was it just favorite flavor?
Just favorite flavor.
Yeah, which is essentially if we want to call it video of the year. So they're getting some shine, but they're not world class. And it's just because there's not a lot of videos like that coming out, where it's like if you put in the time to do a project like that, you'll probably be mentioned in Storror Awards unless 2023 is different.
Yeah, I agree.
We want to go to the next one?
Yeah, I absolutely do. Let's keep moving here. We got female dinger. Hazal wins that. Agree or disagree? There was three contestants in that one.
Yeah.
It was Lisa Eckert with the pole post to post over water. Hazal did it over water as well. It was a running pre, and then the third one was Lachey pre, Elise Bickley.
Yeah, I think they perhaps didn't dig enough, and there's nothing that really stands out in my head. I'm just thinking like a Yasmin or a Lola Roy probably did a running pre that was massive. There were probably several that were massive and stuck very nicely. So I don't know if it felt complete in terms of the choices, but if we're comparing the three, so we have two with consequence, like more significant consequence, and then the winner with not a lot of consequence, but probably harder, like physically harder to stick, although I could say that Elise felt robbed. Because I think that was the most consequence and probably the hardest to do.
Yeah, I mean, Hazal's stick was like so perfect, and I think that's largely what they were looking at was like, that was a dinger, right? Like, so I could see why they chose it, but I kind of agree if you're looking at like the consequence of the dinger, but is it a dinger or is it a consequence award, right? So Yeah, I felt like I liked Elise's more, but it honestly was a toss-up. But between the three of them, I felt like it could have gone to any of them. And I'm not aware of any other dingers that happened from female athletes that I would have included in the category. So just the fact that they included those was like, that was good enough for me. But yeah, I couldn't think of like, oh, so-and-so got robbed because they weren't included here.
Yeah, I mean, you might see them come out in the next week or so.
Maybe.
Because, yeah, I just, I don't know. I wasn't, like, I actually don't, because when I looked at Lisa Eckert's, because it's over water, but like over water to me isn't like that cool. It's cool, but it's not like...
She's also in a bathing suit. So she's like ready to go in if she has to.
It's not dinger or because I don't think you would get the same with males. So I'd actually like them to.
Do you call them bathing suits in Canada?
The swimsuit bathing suit. I don't know. Both are acceptable.
It was just like I just started thinking about like the language. Like bathing suit is like a really weird term. Sorry,
it can't be.
Swimsuit makes way more sense.
Yeah.
Anyway,
gonna take a bath in your suit. Yeah, I don't know. It just I felt I guess my takeaway again for female dinger was that it seemed like they missed some. It seemed like there's some that could have been in there that got missed.
Let's dig deeper and see if we can find something that should have been included.
As I sit here without being able to get... Well, I gave some examples. I think there's
You said names, but you didn't...
I said some names for running pre because they put them out all the time. Like those two put out big running pre's all the time. And I think you have, I guess, because I'm thinking like Lilu with manpower, but that's not a stick.
That's not a stick.
I think you could look at Louisa Chang if you go through her Instagram. Has some good ones.
Yep. But if it's in the gym, it's in the bin.
True.
I think we should move on here.
Okay.
Let's keep it going. Male dinger was Mikesh, reverse vault.
Yeah.
Precision.
Okay, so what's your take on male dinger? Do you agree, disagree?
And this is so hard. I feel like it's so hard to like. I actually don't envy Storror like having to make all these decisions because it's so hard. But Mikesh, I mean, there's no denying that that's a really impressive reverse vault precision. Man, that Marcio running pre is pretty fat and like. So impressive because I've seen Pedro's clip of him overshooting it. And also being able to see the process of Marcio, like of bouncing it and like being so controlled throughout the whole process. So Marcio is definitely a huge contender there, but also the Kong pre that Tom Fichtenbauer did was like ridiculously impressive. So, I mean, personally, I probably would not have chosen Mikesh, although that is a really impressive reverse pre. I probably would have chosen Marcio personally. Or Dom. I don't know. Maybe a toss-up there.
Yeah. When you said Dom for a second, I thought you meant tomato, and I was really confused.
Dominic Fichtenbauer.
So I think I actually agree with this one when I look at them all, just in terms of like how... So doing a reverse over what he did it to.
Yeah.
The wall's like fairly narrow. There's a drop involved. I'm sure there were a bunch of like failed attempts too.
It's basically it's like that. The other, I can't remember the other guy's name who did the 360 precision.
Andre, I think. Andre.
So he did a 360 pre, and it's like, wow, that's really impressive. But if you think about what Mikesh did, he did that, but with a running approach and a hand placement and over more constant, like not with a big overshoot, but with like a wall in between. So yeah.
You know what occurred to me for this one is this is the first time that a not even just nominated, but winning and nominated where the dinger went to we'll call it a almost like acrobatic move. instead of a traditional parkour move. Although, one would say that a reverse vault is a traditional parkour move, but it's like it kind of weaves away where, so it's like, are we going to see is a flip pre going to go into next year if you stick it on the edge, like, because we have he got nominated for another thing, but Kalen Chan, Colin Gaynor pre, is that a dinger? Not the nicest stick, but
he stuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I could see a flip pre being included in this category, but I guess it depends. So this is also the challenge I have with the Storror Awards is, hey, sorry for the interruption. We hope you're enjoying this conversation about the Storror Awards.
We're not running any ads on STS anymore, but it would help us out a lot if more people could see this show. So if you haven't done so already, please share it and drop us a comment for the algorithm. That'll help us a lot. And without further ado, let's get back to the conversation.
There's still such a clear divide between like you'll see, like, in the banger category, for instance, there's like, you have Marcio on one hand doing Kong Plyo Pre, and then you have Ellis Torhall doing side or cork pre side double or double side flip, and it's like, how do you compare these two things? Our sport is so unusual and unusually like diverse in that you can go all the way on one end of the spectrum and all the way on a different end of the spectrum, and how are we, like, we're comparing apples to oranges here. And so and it's interesting too, because Storror is very heavily biased towards the traditional parkour movement, and so and not necessarily, I'm not saying they're necessarily choosing things on that side of the spectrum, but it is interesting that they come from that world. And I wonder if they look at some things that are flip based and they're just like, I have no idea how to even begin to do that, so that must be harder.
Yeah, well, but as you say that though, this Storror Awards featured way more flip heavy.
No, that's what I mean.
Nominations and awards.
That's what I mean, is they see the flip stuff and they're like, I don't even know how I could begin to do that. So that must be really cool and hard. So we must, that's going to win or whatever, right? So, whereas like a Kong Plyo Pre, they could. We'll get into the banger later. Should we move on?
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about that?
No.
All right. Tombstone. Some heavy tombstones.
Do we want to, like, I don't know. I don't think it should be an award. I think it would be better if the award was Tombstone, but it was reflected on like best save. Okay. Or because then they kind of argued that, or they kind of made up their minds saying like, oh, it goes to David Vandal because he seemingly like wasn't harmed or whatever, whereas out of all of the three nominations there, it doesn't seem like it. But again, I'm just like not super interested in even talking about this one. I kind of want to skip it.
Let's skip it. I don't care either.
Like, you gotta have, I understand like programs need bail of the week and stuff like that, but it's weird to like be like, what was the best one and why? I don't care to talk about why someone had the best bail.
I kind of like the idea of best save.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Yeah, but none of those would be included as best save.
No,
because they all three of them.
Well, Justin Louis clearly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great. One woman army.
Yeah.
Lisa Eckert.
Yeah. I mean,
Off Axis. We were singing her praises last week, right?
Yeah. Good vibes on that video. I think it makes sense. I guess the one thing I'll comment on, and we'll get into this with One Man Army for Male too, is like, I don't think it's just about skill. I think it's about like, how good is your video? If it's like a video part, how good is the video part? And some of that goes into how unique it is, how well it's filmed and stuff like that. So I think, and it's the great thing about Storror Awards, I'll say it again, where it doesn't have to be like, is the person who wins One Man Army or One Woman Army going to also be the person that wins a live competition? And probably not. I'm Yeah, in both cases.
Maybe it could happen. We don't know.
Yeah.
We haven't seen them compete. So big agree on the one woman army.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything that wasn't any women that weren't mentioned or that could fit in there, but I don't. There wasn't. Again, back to what I said earlier. Not a lot of videos, so not a lot of women go out there making parts. So not a lot of competition.
So move on. One man army.
Lots of competition there. Quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a bit more. And so going back on what I said earlier, but I can still count them. You know, all the notable one-man army or male video parts, I could count them throughout the year. So, you know, it's. Yeah, I don't know where I was going with that thought. just more options, but not a crazy a lot of options. Because I think even last year you had how do you say his name? Like Wenson Yang got mentioned in there for like what was like really just like an artistic piece, but not like the craziest in terms of things done. The one video I didn't watch in here that I wish I had is Arthur Fatt's video. I'm going to watch that later today because I am interested in seeing it, because I think that one, out of all the videos mentioned, seemed to be the one that probably had the most. I haven't seen it. I just saw it from the clips. Looks like it has the most bangers in it, like in terms of like pushing like distances and stuff. No, disagree. Okay.
No, I like Arthur's video, but I mean it's hard to disagree with Valtteri's video. But I very much do disagree because I was nominated and I have to disagree because I wanted to win it. But Valtteri's was great, and so was Hazel, and so was Squiggles. So like in my mind, those were the three that I could have rolled a 3-sided die and been happy with the result. I would have been way happier if I won, but it's funny because when Diveholes, when I released Diveholes in October, I remember like I was thinking about it. I didn't put it out with any expectation to win Storror Awards. In fact, I didn't even think about it until after I released it. I was like, you know what? I think I said to you, I was like, I want to win a Storror Award with this, and I was thinking about it because there was no other videos that were out yet. I was like, there's no other one-man army video that have been released at all in 2022. So I actually have a huge shot here. And I was just super grateful to even be mentioned as a nominee. But once the other videos came out in early December, late November, it became very clear that I had no shot of winning. So the fact that was even included was awesome. But man, I have to mention Hazel as being like, I have to go back and watch it again because I remember thinking that it was a really great video when I first saw it. But I can't disagree with Valtteri's as the choice because it was such a good video. He had really hard parkour in it, banger stuff in there, and also did some crazy flips. I
think what they mentioned too is like the idea of like it being the total package, because you have some not extremes, but you know, think where so we'll say like Squiggles is like very on the like creative side. Although we mentioned last week that in that video, like McCreary, he there's definitely scale to a lot of the stuff that he did in there, and for me, it actually would be a toss up between those two, because it also like
Valtteri and Squiggles.
Yeah, because of the impact they made. And then you have Denister in there as well, and his video, and then Guy also. Mucho relaxo. So like that's like another style where it's like, okay, we're just doing like really big kongs and jumps and things like that. Guy's being more, a lot of his being like more like consequence. CP, I think, that just doesn't have the spots for it. as much, but still, like, it was just like a really big achievement for him. And so like that's cool to see when it's very clear, like, okay, this person really pushed themselves from what was seen prior. But yeah, I think, yeah, I'm gonna say like Valtteri like makes sense. It didn't. I think I was just so numb to the amount of videos last week that it didn't really stand out to me as like, oh yeah, he's gonna win best male video part. But it does really make sense.
Yeah. No mention of dive holes.
So dive holes was like the like I said, it's like the specific. So you're going out there because you've done this before with like Ascension, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna do a video part where it's all like one type of like skill theme, focus. Yeah.
So I guess like the thing with that, it's bittersweet. Like I was really happy to be nominated, but it's bittersweet because I feel like this was my only chance of ever winning a Storror award, because I'm not gonna make another video that has, or maybe I will, but I don't think I'm gonna be making another video that has the same type of impact, because that's like dive holes for me was like a magnum opus project where I'm doing the hardest and most intricate dive hole lines and skills that I've ever done, and I don't ever want to do again. Like I'm kind of like, I'll probably still find some challenges and pursue them, but I don't really feel like I'm gonna be pushing the level in that same way after this project. So now that it's out there, it's like, I think it's kind of, I mean, it's innovative, and there's not a lot of people out there even doing this type of movement. So it felt like this was my only chance to do a project like that would actually win a Storror award. And in the end, there's no, obviously I don't think there was any chance I had against Valtteri, or honestly some of the other guys, but I do feel like it was my only shot. So it's like, it's bittersweet, because I'm like, I don't think there's gonna be another project that I'd work on that is gonna have the same level of potential in terms of influence on parkour. And now reflecting on that, it makes me kind of sad. But
I don't know. I think you should be happy you got the nom. There's another video that's like in there that, or not in there, that I feel like would fit a similar description, which is Gibbons style. I didn't love the video, but it's like a guy who's going after, so he's doing a lot of like one-arm swings, which you don't see practice a lot. And he does a bunch of things that I've never seen before in Gibbons style.
He does one-arm flyaway regrab.
Yeah, one-arm flyaway and then regrab one arm. But then also like the biggest like one-arm to one-arm swings. All in a gym though, so.
In the bin.
Yeah.
As they say. Shall we keep it moving?
Yeah.
All right. Mad Scientists. Mm-hmm. Nico Van Hol.
So it's funny because Mad Scientist is like, hey, the creator guy and stuff. I left a comment I think at the beginning of the year on one of Nico's posts where I said they should have a good scientist award, because everything he does is good. I've never like disliked a Nico post, whereas like the some of the other like mentions where it's people trying to, constantly trying to push like creative styles. I'm like, this was kind of like a joke post. This is kind of weird. I think he always makes stuff look good. So I'm really happy that he got it.
So like, man, Nico did so well like this year with his content, and it really was so like, so many of his, like you said, there's never been a post from Nico that I've been like, It's always like every time it's like, wow, that was so cool. Wow, that was so cool. And he does it, he includes like multiple lines in each post. Like you just swipe over and you're like, oh, that was cool too. Oh, that was cool too. But I do have to say, like, what the hell does Matt McCreary need to do to win this freaking thing?
It's true.
He put out Squiggles, such a great video. He's like always so innovative, always doing stuff that's so creative and interesting. So, I mean, I don't disagree with Nico winning, but I also have to say, like, man, like he's lost this award now 3 years in a row or 2 years.
I thought last year was the first time it came out, but because I thought even though like Scandrit, I probably go back and look at our reaction last year and we were probably like, yeah, Scandrit, makes sense, but like reflecting on like, he probably should have won that year. But it's another weird category as well because it's impossible not to make it subjective.
Oh yeah, exactly. But that's okay, right? And I think that's also the thing that like Storror can always fall back on is they can stop and be like, this is our opinion. Like, this is from our lens of the world. So like, and you know what? Like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter that much. And most people aren't going out and trying to win a Storror award. They're just putting out the content and doing the parkour stuff that they want to be doing, and then if a Storror award happens for them, they're grateful for it, even if they're nominated, right? So
yeah.
So yeah, I can't disagree with Nico, but
I think he did because he got. Did we forget Lightbulb?
Oh,
we forgot Lightbulb.
We forgot Lightbulb
because he was nominated for Lightbulb, and I think there's a bit of this kind of happens with some of the categories too, where it's like, okay, these categories are like overlapping, like send and banger, for example. I understand you can talk about the difference, but there's quite a bit of overlap, and it's like, how do you fit in each one? So when you have Lightbulb and Mad Scientist, I feel like the same person should be nominated for both, because if you are like the scientist, it means you're like trying to not just push creativity, because that's like a thing where like, oh, I can go out and be creative. It doesn't necessarily mean what I'm trying to create is going to be like recognized as good or anything. But what sets Nico apart is he got mentioned in the Lightbulb, but there's also like other things that he does where I feel like his spot usage, where people are looking at his spot usage, and even for me personally, and I've seen this mentioned with other athletes too, like Max Henry will be like, oh, I wanted to do what like something Nico would do here, and so I think because he's had that kind of influence, I think that's what makes him the mad scientist.
Yeah, I agree.
Good scientist. I'll say good scientist. He's not crazy.
So quickly, let's just hit Lightbulb then. Joe Scandrit won that one with his move in capstone.
Yeah.
The like support swing backflip to chimney slide.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel the same as what they were defining as Lightbulb in the previous year, because I think Lightbulb should be like people are going to go out and like want to try that or be like, of course, it should be like the of course moment. Of course we should be trying to do this move. It
is cool though, because like I don't really disagree with it, because it's like there's two moves that have been happening. So like, yeah, you have support backflip and you have chimney slide, and he uniquely combined the two in a way that no one else would probably ever think to do. And so in that way, I think it's a Lightbulb moment. But I also think that since no one else would think to do it, I also not only will no one else think to do it, but no one else would ever try this after Joe Scandrit. So it's not necessarily a cultural Lightbulb moment.
I'll tell you what could have been a Lightbulb moment that would have made sense. Your last dive hole. I actually think. I would make a better argument for that being nominated for Lightbulb moment than for what was the other thing? What was that thing? The One Man Army. Even though it fits in a One Man Army, I think it's, I guess they can't nominate for two things, but I think that's more of a Lightbulb movement where it's like, okay, we're gonna do like a pull through thread to Kong, where you got to find spots for it and stuff. But
it's such a uniquely spot oriented movement.
Yeah.
Whereas like Nico's Lightbulb moment was like flyaway tack.
Yeah.
Which you only need a bar and a wall.
And I think that was more fitting for the win. It just wasn't I don't know. I wasn't really like thrilled last year either with like the Daisy. I
But
thought
that one makes sense though.
I thought the catback like 360 was like the cooler move to do, and I actually thought more people were going to start trying it, but apparently it's really hard, so they're not. But I thought that was like I guess it is just like adding a spin onto like an extra rotation onto or half rotation to full rotation to a existing traditional parkour move, but
yeah.
Yeah, like Nico's just seemed to fit the bill more because it's a thing that people were like, oh yeah, that is like a really cool idea, and like you can do it in a lot of places, and it's I'm gonna go try it.
So cool. Moving on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like other ones I missed. I guess it was in a previous year, but like something just occurred to me. Because Sean Higgins throws this a lot, but I think he didn't come up with it, and I think it's been thrown, but like he does like the flyaway like wall flare thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
I think that was actually nominated in a previous year as a light bulb or like...
Yeah, I think it was.
Or Bang or something. Yeah, because another one in there was like, they just had a clip of Pasha that they didn't really talk about, where he did I don't even know what the bar move was that he did, because I'm not...
It was basically a flyaway double Arabian. Wacky looking, crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. Squad goals.
Who won again?
Gang Wizzy gang.
Yeah. I think, well deserved. I think that totally made sense for everything that they said.
Yeah, I can't disagree with it. I want Unknown Project to win squad goals one year, but I just don't.
They got
think
some work to do.
Yet. Yeah,
they're. It almost seems like they're not as committed of a squad, because
they are. They're currently working on a big video project.
But,
so hopefully,
compared to Lizzie Gang.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think also in order to win a squad goals thing, you have to be a consistent team on YouTube.
Well, that's what I mean. Like committed. Like they're not out doing all the things as much.
Best Yout.
Oh, this one was weird. Because for one, I was listening to the Storror podcast first, and then I watched it a second time for the Storror Awards, and I saw at the end, they got like Shuji and Momoka from Japan, who do all their stuff in a gym. Yeah, mind you, crazy talented kids. But then I was like, this just feels weird because now it opens me up to
you're comparing a 9-year-old versus like a 17-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
But also it opens up. I think there's just like so many other kids out there too, and they're just owning it. But also, so you got one girl in there, but I think there's tons of girls that could almost deserve their own category. Like Noah DiOrgina is still a youth. Nene, who didn't get mentioned at all for anything we're going to get into later, my God. Should be in, if not for a youth category, at least for best female, but not my award show.
Or even Banger.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. That like she definitely would be best youth material as well.
Yeah, so when it came to like the female categories, I think it was clear to me that Storror's in a bit of a bubble with who's on their radar.
Well, it's what I talked about before, which was they have a European bias. Yeah. And it's very, very evident. And I'm not saying this in terms of there's a European bias against American athletes, which is probably the case. But also Asia, South America, other places in the world where you might not see or even know of these different athletes. And can you blame them? I mean, they're in a bubble. Like they're influenced by their own culture and their own experiences. So there's not much you could. I mean, they could do more research. I would say it's a huge oversight to not include Nene in any of this. But I don't know. What can you do?
Yeah. And then, of course, the winner,
Yannick, from Brighton, who I mean is undeniably sick, and he probably had a great year, and but he's definitely very much in their bubble. So can I disagree with it? I can't disagree with it, except that I think there's definitely a lot more youth that should have been included that they're probably just unaware of. Anything else?
Yeah. Well, they also mentioned too that a lot of youth like train in gyms, but again, the two Japanese kids they put in there like exclusively, like they got one clip from Shuji, which is like one of his only outdoor clips, and it's a viral clip. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're kind of going against their own words there and their own brand of the. Yeah, I actually wanted to mention too the in the gym in the bin thing, because I think we were maybe like more upset about this like last year as being a thing, but and it's what I'm gonna say is that I like that they're sticking to it. I like that it's like a consistent thing where it's like if it's in the gym, it's in the bin, because it's just not part of the Storror brand, and it is the Storror Awards. So I'm gonna say if it's in the gym, it's in the bin, should totally stay as part of their thing because they've already done it for 2 years now or whatever or longer. It sucks that a lot of people get removed from these conversations because of it, but I also don't think anyone really trains throughout the year like thinking I'm going to win a Storror award.
Does it? Yeah, I mean, I'm not against it at all. I'm not mad about it. Even last year, like I don't really care that they're doing. I think it's a good thing in general to say, you know what, it only counts outside, because that's part of the culture that we live in parkour as well. It's like, not that it only counts outside, it's that like if you learn a skill, typically it's like, okay, well, have you done it outside? Right? And then there's various levels, like, oh, you did it like let's say for a flip, oh, you did it to sand, well, have you done it to grass yet? Like that's even like a layer of like not as legit to more legit. Like Kong double gainer, which also wasn't included. Caitlin Chan's Kong double gainer, I think, happened this year.
Yeah.
So he definitely messed his foot up though when he did it. But Kong double gainer, Verky did onto sand, wanted to do it onto grass, decided not to do it onto grass. Caitlin Chan came in and did it onto grass. So it's like, oh, okay, like there was an arms race there to like see who could get onto like a more legit surface, right? So I think the same is true for in the gym. Like if you're landing on wooden walls, it's not the same as landing on concrete.
There's a weird, and I don't think it's, we see it a lot with particularly our youth team, where it's like land a jump or land a trick with mats, and then throughout the session, removing the comforts, so whether they're blocks, mats, and things like that, until it's done, and then record the clip. And I know this happens everywhere, right? It's like the Instagram versus reality thing. Reality is like all these attempts with all of these safety harnesses, but it's funny because like Storror just comes out, I was like, well, if it's in the gym, it's in the bin, and I think largely because they know that's happening. So
I have more to say about this for, is it the next category? No. Almost, yes. Well, no, almost. Almost.
You have more to say about it if it's in the gym, it's in the bin?
And mat usage and stuff.
Okay.
But let's move on here.
All right.
So we have best send, Chauke.
It is...
Double cork.
They were saying Chauke.
Like I don't think it's Chauke.
Yeah. Double cork. Yeah, I would. Okay, so is this why you were talking about with the mats and the usage of things?
No, but we can talk about that too.
Because he's pretty notorious for
spot
mod, and yeah, I think. Ooh, I might be making it up if I said I saw mats on a roof, but definitely saw wood builds and
surprised.
Tape on a roof.
But yeah, I mean, spot modding is more similar to gym.
Yep. 100%.
Hard to disagree with double cork roof gap.
And this was for send.
Send.
Yeah, so like send and banger, it's like, okay, I get, because it is a send.
But what else was
I think
in the
send doesn't
category?
have to
There's
be
a
the
big
most-
front flip. There was, I'm like blanking out. I feel
I don't
like
know.
there
I would say Kalen's like Kong double gainer is a send, because if we're saying it's not a banger, maybe because he got hurt or something, well, he had to freaking send to do it. But he did get mentioned for banger with Kong gainer pre, so he did get mentioned for one. But who else sends? Ugh. It's funny because like
Dom wasn't in this one this year.
And the capstone wasn't in it. And is that because there's some?
Well, I think you could say that one, like, well, I'm glad that Justin Louis wasn't in it. Let's just say that.
He is send.
But yeah, I mean, you could have included clips from individuals from Capstone as best send. But I can't remember, there was like somebody else that was included in this that I felt like could have won it, but didn't as a nominee. Doesn't matter. I can't really disagree with double cork roof gap. It's pretty incredible send.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Banger award for female. It was Elise Bickley with her line. Which was a Kings of the Concrete online submission, and it was pretty fire line.
Yeah, it was. The only thing that takes away from it for me is the other nominees.
Hazal's Running Cat.
Yeah, which is a banger. For some reason, I thought that was in 2021. So, but it's 2022. But then you have like Lynn doing some strides, which apparently like a lot of other gals did as well.
Yeah, I was actually very surprised that was included.
Yeah,
because that's not a banger to me.
That just felt weird. And then you go into, which is in kind of one of those categories, like Breakout Female, and you see the clips for like Breakout Female, and I'm like, why were these not in banger for women? And then we mentioned Nene. Was it triple? She landed. Full. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely. No, I do know. There's definitely some overlook because again, you have Hazal who's basically on Storror, and then you have Lynn who's basically on Storror, and then you have Elise who is a UK athlete, and those are your bangers. So this one seemed like a really quick thing, and it sucks because I'm not trying to take away from Elise's clip. Definitely a banger. I don't know off the top of my head what would top it, because if we're looking at like every move that goes in that line, that was crazy.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's kind of a shame. It's just a shame that there wasn't more women's clips included because they're like, again, like Nene's triple full is a banger. First ever, like we're talking about NDB here, NBD here. So.
Also, as critical as we're being here, I do want to commend Storror on putting in the effort to include more categories for women, and it does make sense that they're gonna miss. Like, I think they're probably gonna reflect on it and be like, oh, we're gonna have to do like a bit more work next year to make sure that we dig and find the gems, so to speak.
Okay. Banger for men. Ellis Torhall.
Yeah.
Cork pre to double side.
Yeah.
So incredible. I love the clip. It's a banger for sure.
Yeah. The only thing I want to say is I have a slight disagreement with I think it was Josh was saying like it's unfathomable, and I was like, no, it's totally fathomable, like how he did it, because there's a handful of guys that could probably do that cork pre. It is to like a really thin wall. I think Mr. Scott might be able to hit it. I don't know if he could pop a double side out of it.
Yeah, I mean it's such an impressive combination.
Because I think about the cork pre that he did for SPL1, which has all kinds of the approach sucks. Bigger target though, but the way he lands it, he could have. That was actually my for Big Trick. That was like my one criticism of it, is like he probably could have popped something out of it.
Yeah.
Because he landed it so well.
So this is where I wanted to talk about mat usage, and not for Ellis, but for Kalen Chan, because he was nominated for Kong Gainer Precision for this one, and he actually released later on after he did it his progression towards it, and he used mats.
He matted the wall. Oh, okay. I didn't know.
So
Makes sense.
my thought here is maybe Storror didn't select this one because he used mats, and it was so clear that he used mats. Because Kong Gainer Precision is actually like okay, we're talking about things that are in
It's harder than cork pre.
parkour lore. You know,
Yeah,
like
unless you cork pre like actual precision landing,
like
which is so messed
Kong
up.
Gainer Precision, like the straight, like the perpendicular way, not the like parallel way, or however you want to call it. That has been like ever since Kong Gainer happened, it's been like a myth that Daniel Ilbaka did Kong Gainer Precision to a rail. So it's like it's one of those moves that are literally dream tier moves. And so it's like, yeah, like cork pre double side, so impressive and incredible, and honestly like not the only clip that Ellis did this year that is on banger level.
Also, real quick, Verky was not mentioned for banger, and there's quite a few. There's quite a few that could have been.
But Kong Gainer pre, like he stuck it too. Like Kalen Chan, I have to say it's potentially a robbery here, because it's the first one ever to happen, ever, and it's been like at the level of like mythology in parkour for
like
so long.
Because the banger's got to be. It's got to have all these stakes to it, but it's also got to be something that like no one else is going to do. I don't think we're going to see.
We're not going to see that for a long time, I think.
Yeah, because he also had like the perfect spot too, for him.
Yeah. Well, like
I think Verky. So
Verky's done it to like fatter things. Right?
I think Verky can hit one to. I think he's the guy to do it. I think Verky's the guy to do a Kong Gainer pre in a scenario that is on par with where Kalen did it.
He's done it on bigger surfaces.
He was the first, I believe, to do it, to have it coined Kong Gainer pre, because he did it to something that required precision but wasn't a precision the way we can have this. This is the whole thing about like flip pre's are like not actually pre's for a lot of them. Some of them are. A lot of them are. But like
more
a lot of gainers are not.
Yeah. It's gainer gaps.
Yeah. Gainer gap to a precise thing, but not a precision. It's the fact that the problem is we don't have another word for them.
Should we move on? From talking about bangers, yeah, I think that's all that needs to be said there. I think we did kind of. I don't know. I am a little because particularly after you say mats, but even if I don't think about the mats for Kalen's, I do. I don't know if it's a robbery. I think it is quite a toss up, because it's also like how clean Ellis did that, and the fact that I said there would maybe be one other person, and it's maybe Ed Scott that could do it, but I don't think he pops the double side, which makes it that Ellis is the only one that could do it. And so you have Ellis being the only one that can do what he did, and then you have Kalen being the only one that he could do. And it's just, what's your take? And then there's just more moves happening on Ellis's side. I feel like it's more likely I don't know. I was going to say it's more likely, I don't know. I just realized twin parkour. Aiden was
that's a crazy one too.
Kong Gainer back layout off of the. Oh my god,
that's so cool.
So that's another like banger for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like sticking a Kong Gainer precision, real precision, is like god tier level.
That again, another Lightbulb moment.
Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. Sorry, Scandrit. you don't get it. Kaylin Chan, Lightbulb Moment. I'm saying it right now. Leave a comment if you agree. Kaylin Chan deserves Lightbulb Moment, being the only person in history to stick a Kong Gainer Prix and actually do a Kong Gainer Prix. Give him the money.
So here's the thing,
That's
though. Lightbulb Moment is actually, because like we've thought of Kong Gainer Precision, it just hasn't happened before, right? Kong Gainer gaps have happened to various degrees, but like a stuck precision hasn't. It's not like he did it and it was like, oh wow, like I didn't. No one ever thought to do this. People have thought to do it, and that's also why I think it deserves the win here, because it's people have thought about it for years and it's never happened until he finally did it.
Yeah, he deserves it. Whatever way you slice it, I think we can agree he deserves more than a nomination for that feat.
Yeah, well, and they didn't even like mention him.
Yeah,
you know, and that's kind of unfortunate. But he was included in the video, but he wasn't actually mentioned. So, anyway, breakout athlete, Sibe. Wait, was
big
there?
fan.
Yeah, okay.
Big fan.
Yeah, so this was for men's breakout athlete, Sibe.
Big fan.
One thing they said was like, we've never seen anyone so athletic come to parkour. It's like, dude, you guys know who Tim Champion is, right? like the most athletic of all of us.
But I wonder what they mean by athletic, because that's like particularly in this context, it's a pretty vague term. And so maybe like I have yet to meet Sibe.
That's true.
Yeah, I've only seen what he can do.
It's questionable to me to say you've never seen anybody so athletic when you have Tim Champion who lives in your in your country, and I don't know. Have you seen the guy's physique? He's out with his shirt off. It's like definitely. All right, maybe he's just a bodybuilder. No, but he can jump too. He can jump, and he has the world record for highest dyno here at Origins Parkour. So
yeah, he's probably got the world record for a couple things.
Yeah,
in parkour.
Anyway. I actually don't disagree with Sibe at all. I think Sibe is definitely the breakout athlete this year, because especially early in the year, he started going and just hunting down challenges. Like at IMAX, he did worlds for NBDs, if you want to call them that, at IMAX, and he just really kind of pushed himself onto the radar for everyone. It's like, wow, yeah, Sibe is a breakout for me for sure. And I think he was also potentially a contender for best male, although I think he's slowed down more towards the end of the year. So,
who would you say is number 2 there? Because I can't even remember who else was nominated for.
I'm struggling to remember because there's so many categories, but I remember thinking like that they were also good choices. But yeah, I can't remember. But breakout female, I also agree with Lola.
Yeah. One of my qualms with breakout female is I would have liked to have seen Louisa Chang mention, because she's also on the radar. She's had a lot of shared clips over this year, and I'm pretty sure like if like Callum was listening to this, he'd probably be like, oh yeah. Like, you know, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like maybe not win, like not win, but I think because
she deserves the nomination for sure.
Yeah, she's been training for quite a while, but up until this year, she was not on a lot of people's radar, and this was the year where all of a sudden, like a lot of her clips, particularly in the descent realm, were getting shared and put out there. I don't think she has the hops that Lola does. Maybe, I don't know actually, because there's some stuff she's doing in the gym recently.
Yeah, she doesn't have the send though, like yet. I mean, we haven't seen it from her, but like Lola's doing massive roof gaps.
Yeah,
and it's like, you
gotta find them.
It's kind of you do have to find them, but you also have to have the desire to want to find them.
Yeah,
and Lola seems to be in a place where, you know, maybe she's also being encouraged to go and push those limits. She also did manpower gap.
I think what we can say about breakout and best for men and women is it is very much dependent on opportunity to like go places. I think is a big part of it, because they mention it with some of the men and women later, where it's like this person has to be a go-getter who's getting around. But again, Louisa did. She traveled a lot, not to Europe, but traveled a lot.
It has to be. I mean, you have to be. I mean, for all of this, a lot of it is content related. So you also have to be pushing out content.
But I say getting out there in terms of like, going with people to find the roof gaps. This has to be. You can't be putting out. It can't be like someone who's hustling a lot in the gym, because yes, they're in the bin. It gets ignored. So it has to be someone who's getting out there a lot and getting to those places, which is a bit of a problem. And they mentioned this with youth too, where it's for a lot of them, going out on the streets alone and trespassing alone, or at a young age and stuff, is not a thing that a lot of youth can do.
See, I think with Lola, she's surrounded by other people who are like doing that and encouraging of her to be involved in that as well. So I think it's, we talked about this, I can't remember if it was last week or another week, but crew. It's about the crew, right? So like the crew, like it's what Storror is, right? They're a crew, and they're kind of constantly pushing where to go, trespassing together, and doing like team-based challenges or just individual challenges, and they're just encouraging each other along the way and kind of continuing that progression. I think Lola's surrounded by the same type of people, which is why she's able to get these like ridiculous jumps in the bag. She's also only like 16, which is wild. Oh,
so she's a youth.
Yeah, she's best youth. Yeah, weird. Okay, best female. Lisa Schneider wins best female this year. I don't know if I can disagree with it, but I do have a disagreement in that there was some women who weren't included that I felt like should have been nominated.
Yeah, I was just editing or trying to edit SPLX skill final, and so it's very like relevant. But again, so you have Rene Dambly, not even mentioned, which doesn't make any sense because she wins every competition she goes to, and so does Sydney Olsen. And Sydney Olsen also puts out a lot of content.
Yeah,
but not on YouTube anymore. She kind of quit the YouTube game.
But Sydney has clearly slowed down this year in terms of her.
Still won Red Bull.
She still won Red Bull. She still won SPL. But like, it's very clear that she has shifted her focus towards stunts. So,
but is it clear in what she was able to put out this year? I don't think it's been as big, but I don't think she's ever been mentioned on Storror, right? So again, it's like the Europe, as you said, the European and UK focus, where it's like you have an American athlete who is a standout in Sydney Olsen, who's not even, because I think she should have at least been mentioned, and I think Rene Dambly should have at least been mentioned.
Rene Dambly definitely,
if not
should
one,
be.
I think Rene Dambly could win. It's just doesn't put out the content. The caliber of content.
Yeah,
so to speak. Rene, I don't know. Like,
Rene
it's kind of funny because I think I could pull up her Instagram right now.
I was looking through it, and it's like she has some really great clips in there, but it's like compared with Lisa Schneider's content coming out, it's seeming like Lisa's doing more like hard parkour.
Yeah, particularly out of gym. And I think it's the thing that we open with and keep kind of going back to the theme here of the Storror Awards being about more of content artist awards rather than athlete award.
Yeah.
And so like Rene Dambly is the decorated athlete. Again, wins every competition she goes to. In skill and speed, and Lisa Schneider's actually competed against her and not won. So it's like, oh, who's the athlete of the year? Rene Dambly's the athlete of the year. Who's the female of the year when it comes to artistic content? It's Lisa Schneider.
Yeah. Well,
maybe.
Also missing Nene.
Yep.
again, disappointed that not even mentioned at all. It seems like a huge oversight. So, Lisa Schneider I think, is a good choice, but I think you're missing out on several other female athletes that could potentially be winning that category. And now we're down to the last one, which was best male, and this came down to between Ed Scott and Lord Verkey, and they gave it to the Lord.
Yeah, I could go either. It's interesting too because Jocko was mentioned in there.
Yep.
Tombolani, and I think there was a moment where I can't remember who said it, but they said I wanted to say Jocko, but like he's missing something. I don't know what it is. Oh yeah, Benj said it.
Yeah.
So he doesn't know what it is, and I don't know what it is either.
I'll tell you. So who it came down to was Verkey and Ed, and both of them have successful YouTube channels. And they're putting out content every single week
that makes
on
sense
top of Instagram.
For what it is. Yeah.
So it's like, who won last year? Dom, right? So Dom was the same way, releasing content and putting out clips every week or every day on Instagram and every week on YouTube. So it's like, who are they favoring here? It's the content kings, right? The two guys who are like really pushing the content and also like doing really like awesome stuff. Verkey's library of or catalog of incredible clips this year was very, very impressive. I think you need to make the argument that Ed has done equally impressive stuff, but also lasted the whole year.
I would say not equally. He didn't last the whole year, and that's the other thing too.
He hurt his toe.
He's currently hurt.
He's back.
He hurt his knee earlier in the year too. So he had breaks. Verkey, and that's why like if you think about the first half of the year up until Verkey got hurt, it's bananas. Like how big he was going and how many things, again, not mentioned in bangers is weird because there's a couple of things he did like the or send, like he does that is it like a dive like 360 front that he does like over the roof gap through, like okay, like maybe not as much as double cork, but also maybe right for send, and then just everything he does is a banger. So it's the more I think about it, the more actually Verkey's the obvious choice. And I love Ed, and I think Ed is like the most like well-rounded guy. I just don't think he had a perfect year. If he had a perfect year, like then it would have made sense. Like his 2021 was better than his 2022 in terms of like how much he was able to do. Because he's definitely grown like his YouTube and everything this year, but I think just in terms of like his athletic year.
He showed up to all the, and I know they're not going based on this, but he showed up to all the comps. Yeah. He placed, I think he was second place in Red Bull Art of Motion. He was first place at SPL. He also won best overall male at the Big Wall Open. And he's just like,
I forgot about Big Wall again. Yeah.
He shows up, and he always shows up, and he's always throwing down, and he's always the hardworking man in the room, and hardest working man in the room, and or at the spot. So, like Verkey has. If you compared like banger versus banger, Verkey has more.
It's just that Verkey again, and I just can't overlook the part of the year that he had. Like he did so much in that first part of the year where it's like every week it seems like he's doing something that no one else is going to do.
Yeah.
And to do that on such a consistent basis for even for half a year is crazy. Whereas Ed, he has those moments, but just not as frequently. Not near as frequently. He couldn't get enough of those moments in an entire year that Verkey was able to do in half a year is what it is.
Yeah.
And then you have Scandrett.
You do have Scandrett. Who was it? He wasn't mentioned. Was he?
I think he got mentioned.
He was mentioned? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
because like myself. Scandrett is like the one where every video when did Breach come out? Did Breach come out last year or this year?
I can't remember. But he is the standout athlete in any like video, which includes multiple athletes, right?
Yeah.
He's standout athlete in Farang Zero, standout athlete in Capstone. He was standout athlete in Breach, but I can't remember.
So what's missing for Scandrit? What's missing for Scandrit? Doesn't have his own YouTube channel, and doesn't really do comps. And if it wasn't for those two things, I think he'd be a.
If he had his own YouTube channel and he was consistently pushing content, I think that would probably put him more in the conversation. I think comps are like pretty irrelevant to Storror awards. Maybe not. I could be wrong, but it seems like they're not really taking that into consideration.
I think if it becomes like a tie, I think that's what puts someone over.
Yeah. Interesting. I like how it came down to Sasha again this year. But I can't disagree with Verky being selected here, but I probably would have voted Ed, but that's more because of his showing up. Whereas I think Verky had an incredible year, but he only had almost like half a year, so. But yeah, undeniably a great, one of the greatest right now.
Yeah.
Hopefully his ankle is healed up and good for 2023. We'll see.
All right, so final thoughts? Anything that we didn't say yet?
No. Check your bias, Storror.
I think that's one thing where it's like a couple of the suggestions or criticisms is like it does seem that they're leaning more towards the UK and Europe bubble is one in terms of like production and putting out the awards. Timestamps would be lovely. Particularly when we're trying to do this sort of thing where we're
doing recaps,
reacting and just riding off of your content.
But yeah, I like overall, like I love this event. Like I was very much looking forward to watching it and seeing who won and kind of like having this conversation here. Debating
and you fall into what I was saying too, where it's like people that deserve a nod for something that they put out over the year, where it's like you put out a project, and that project in the world right now, you put a project, it's hot for a week and then it's gone, right? So at least you get mentioned and recognized again at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And so it's super important to the parkour community right now, particularly as competitions seem to be like the focus. And as much as I love competitions, you love competitions, there is a lot more to parkour, and there is a lot of people that are, sometimes sad that they don't fit into competitions for whatever reason, and this is something else that they can aspire to.
Verky kind of falls into that category of like somebody who's super high level, has incredible skill, but I mean, he won Art of Motion, but I think largely because it was partially a video contest.
It was also like really disputed. Like I don't think he'd win it again. Really.
Yeah. Well, if it's just a video competition, he has super potential to win every year. But if up for a live for a live run, I mean, the argument was like Ellis won, or actually Ed won it, but Ellis probably should have won it. But I don't know. There's a lot to be said about Verky's style not fitting into the competition format, and I would love to see him compete in style at SPL to see how he actually stacks up, because I think he would do very well this year if he did show up and he was healthy. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, overall, I think there is a European bias that needs to be kind of considered here for Storror awards. There was I love that they included female categories. I felt like they were still missing several female athletes that deserved at least mentions, if not to win some of the categories. I love what Storror has done for the culture here, because they're not changing what we're already doing as a sport. and they're just rewarding what's already happening. And that's what I think I love about the Storror Awards the most, is that they, it's a content-based thing. So it's like, hey, show up and put out content and you have an opportunity. And they're putting their money where their mouth is. And I love to see when, especially a successful parkour brand like Storror, is not only bolstering up other athletes who are in the sport and other teams and other YouTube channels and Instagram handles, but they're also giving back to the community in some way and kind of like utilizing their followership and their money to help support the brands and athletes of the culture. So big ups to Storror for putting this event on every year, and already can't wait till next year.
Yeah. There's one more thing I wanted to say, just as you had one more thought about, because we keep kind of going back to the bias in women particularly, and it actually is in the gym thing. And I just realized, if you're particularly if you're a young lady, going out and getting clips, culturally, a harder thing to do.
Yeah.
So it is something that I think Storror should think about next time that they are giving out these awards, because we mentioned like, oh, Lola gets it because she's out with the crew, with the people and stuff like that. That same that is an opportunity, and that same opportunity doesn't exist for all women. So it is something that I don't know the answer for. It's just like, I think something that needs to be reflected on. That's perhaps why like Rene didn't get recognized. There's also like, I just remember like Hanaho too is like freaking dope and had some dingers. So, I'm sure like as time goes on, like more names are gonna pop in my head, and I think some of them end up training at a lot of like gyms and parks, but that's because those places are safe.
Yeah.
And I don't just mean like safe in terms of like Matt's safe. I mean safe in terms of the world, society. Socially safe. And that's an interesting thought. I do think a lot of those athletes like Hanaho, Rene, they do train outside too, and they get clips outside. But that is an interesting conversation to have though, because as men, we have like a much easier time going out into the world and training. Yeah, absolutely.
Although there's been like back when Caroline was training, she and Brenda were out at a spot, and I think they had some female privilege of like not being kicked out, because like a security guard came over and was like, "What are you guys doing?" They were like, "Just doing parkour," and then they were like, "Okay, that's fine, I guess." Like, you're just, you seem like you're not harming anything. So.
Yeah, more likely to be harmed is I think the issue. That's the issue. Yeah. And as much as I've kind of leaned more to defending the if it's in the gym, it's in the bin theme. That's where it gets tricky. And so as they enter like the next year of this, that should be considered.
I don't know if I agree.
Yeah. I just think
culturally, I think parkour is done outside, so I think they need to continue with that. That's their brand. But like I think they could dig out more female athletes, because even amongst there's still athletes that weren't included that do train outside. They do have clips of them training outside and doing really incredible things, and they just weren't talked about. So, but that's all I have to say. Yeah, that's all we got for today. Again, this is the last show of the year, but we are back next week with the first show of 2023. Probably going to be talking about goals, talking about things that we're looking forward to. So don't miss that one. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment, let us know how you felt about everything we said today. Tune in next week, and we will see you then.